Hey, sports card collectors and investors. I hope that everybody is having a great start to the week. Today I'm going to be talking about a popular topic, just in that I'm getting a lot of questions from viewership about this particular topic, and it's, what are some of the best ways to flip raw cards? And so, I know that, for a lot of collectors and investors, buying graded cards can be an expensive venture. It's something that and even if you can get into some of the graded cards, it's difficult, unless you have a lot of capital to go ahead and get in and buy a lot of graded cards. So you have to be really choosy. One way you can kind of move up to graded cards is to buy and flip raw cards, ungraded cards. And so that's what this video is about today. I'm going to kind of talk more about how to do that, some of the things that I've done that I've had success with, some of the things to watch out for, and hopefully provide some insight to help you kind of along the way. So a lot of it, again, boils down to barrier of entry to get into the market. So, we're seeing there's a lot more investors, collectors that are getting into this market or getting back into it after a period of time. And so, the market's changed a lot. If it's been 10 years, 15, 20 years, and you're just now getting back into it, you're probably saying like, wow, there's a lot that has changed, and so that was something that I had to learn as well. And so for raw cards, the barrier to entry to get in is lower. I mean, you can get cards for $1 that are in fairly decent demand just as far as players go. I did a video maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was, a base NBA Hoops Tyler Hero rookie card raw at 80 cents. So, a lot of people think like, oh, for $1, I can't really get any value out of a $1 card, and that's not necessarily the truth. There is a lot of value in those raw cards. Now, is it common that you're going to see a $1 card go to $100 raw? No, it's not common at all. But you see it more and more common for a $1 to $5 raw card to move up to a $15 to $20 raw card. And that's a great return as long as you're okay doing those deals in volume, which, for a lot of us that don't necessarily have $1 million to put into sports cards, that can be the way up. And if you're someone that's, looking to get into, LeBron rookies or Michael Jordan cards that are, a lot more expensive, as opposed to coming up with $1,000 to put down, this is a way for you to work up to that. You can, flip cards and work up to those cards that are you're looking for to put into your PC, or just larger investments that you're looking to flip again down the road for larger investments potentially. So that's kind of a lot of the tactics that I've seen taken. And so, for those, again, that are just kind of dipping their toe in, or maybe they have a lot of graded cards, they're looking to diversify with some raw cards, I think that flipping raw cards can absolutely be a great plan for everyone. One big question with raw cards is, to grade or not to grade, and that's a strategy that you have to figure out for yourself. So, there's just buying raw cards and flipping raw cards as a strategy, or, are you going to buy it? Are you going to grade it and then resell it on the secondary market? There's a lot of different things to take into account when deciding to grade. First off, the grading costs. It can be anywhere from, I believe, $12 to $20 a card for PSA, and I know that BGS has got similar pricing as well, and then SGC is kind of in that same ballpark, maybe a little bit less. But that's something that you have to take into account, because that's going to be an added cost. And then there's a time versus money factor in that you're going to have to wait to get your cards back. SGC was probably the fastest turnaround time, probably still is the fastest turnaround time, but I'm assuming just with PSAs, with the shutdown of PSA and BGS and SGC getting much more business over the last couple months, that their wait times have gone up probably considerably, I would expect. And so there's just different strategies. I believe that PSA has, to where, and probably BGS as well, to where you can pay extra, maybe it's $50 to $75 a card to get it back within, 3 days, 10 days. Now, I know a lot of times those like 2-day services can take 2 weeks. So, you just have to be mindful of that. But if it is if it's a valuable card, a rare card that maybe is let's just say it's a $500 card buying it raw, but it's a $5,000 card graded, then maybe that makes sense for you. So I mean, there's different kind of strategies depending on what level of cards you're buying. And so you have to take into account with grading, not just the cost, because you've got the cost of the raw card plus shipping taxes potentially, and then of course, the cost of the grade, and then you've got, time versus money. If you're going to be waiting 3 months, 6 months to get the card back from PSA, is it going to be worth it for you? Are you looking to flip that card in the next 3 months? Then maybe sending it to PSA isn't the way to go because of the backlog that they've got and just that wait time. Maybe it makes more sense to go to SGC. I mean, there's a lot of different variables to take into account. So whether you're going to grade or not grade, that's something that you would have to kind of think on for yourself. I've had a success just flipping them raw because I haven't felt comfortable enough on the wait times for the grading companies. And I know that there's definitely, if you get that PSA 10, then the resale is huge. And, so I get all of that. But for me, if I'm just looking at kind of, transactions that can be fairly quick, but also just that aren't going to set me back, that much more money to grade, then I'll go with, just flipping them raw. That's been my strategy so far. Many people think that just getting into sports card investing is just as easy as just, buying a card and selling it. It's not easy selling cards. There's timing involved. I would say also, you can't just buy anybody and expect it to be a profitable venture, just like when you're buying stocks or real estate or anything else. So, for me, I focus in on a blend of established players versus up-and-comers. And with my established players, I'm also including Luka in that mix. Just because he's proven himself. Although it's been a short career, he's proven that he belongs in the league. So I would lump him in with the LeBrons and the Steph Currys and the established players. And not everybody would, but and that's okay. And then I'm mixing in some, the Donovan Mitchells and the Brandon Clarks maybe. Someone that's gotten some hype. The guys that are kind of up and coming. But I would say I'm probably 80-20 to where. Maybe 85-15, where I'm going with more of the, the LeBron, Luka, more established guys in that 80% bracket, 85% bracket, and that 15-20% is going to be, not that Donovan Mitchell is not a proven player. He is. I guess, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, those guys are probably in more of the proven player bucket. But the rookies, the Tyler Heroes, that would be in more that 15-20% bucket. And I would also include Hall of Fame players in that 80-85. So I've just got kind of more of a proven track record because remember, you're investing in a player's career. So if they've already done something and they've already got a fan base and they've already got a championship, then you're taking less of a risk than if you're going with a rookie that's just coming out that could just be a flash in the pan, person and be gone. So, picking the players. You just have to. It all depends on what type of risk you're comfortable with and how you want to divvy that up. Some people, if they want to go, a little bit more on the risky, go with some of those up and comers. Maybe they go 50-50, where it's 50-50, where it's 50% LeBrons and the Lukas and the and those guys, and then the other 50 are the rookies or that second-year player that maybe hasn't broken out yet, but you feel really good about them over the next few years. Those are not quick flips necessarily. Those are more if you're holding for 3 to 5 years, or 2 to 5 years from now. So it really just depends on your strategy there. When buying cards, pay attention as much as you can on eBay to. And I would say I typically always buy on eBay, and most people do. The transaction volume is highest on eBay than anywhere else. But when buying cards on eBay, I would focus in on, the 4 parts of grading are corners, centering, edges, and surface. Now this can be tricky on eBay because you're just looking at a picture, so sometimes you're not going to see a surface mark. I would ask questions if you have them, but for the most part, you're buying it as is, and if you're not going to grade it, it's more just about the card and just making sure that you're comfortable with that level, kind of what the pictures look like. Maybe just ask if you aren't quite sure. If you're spending a little bit more on a raw card, maybe if you're spending $50 on a raw card, you say like, hey, is there anything out of the ordinary I should know about the card that's not in the description? But for the most part, I think if you're buying in that $10, $15, $20 range, as long as, and especially with modern cards that are just a couple of years old, I'm not saying that you could get some that are in bad shape, because you can, but if they have, if the the seller's got a great feedback record, they've got returns if needed. Ideally, you want to avoid returns. It just can be a hassle. But again, if you're buying kind of in-demand players cards, and it's at a good price point being raw, then you should be in pretty good shape. And just ask questions up front. If you need another picture, do that. On the other end of that, if you're selling, definitely post as many pictures of the card as you can raw, because you'll get the questions anyway. Make sure it's not just like the front of the card. A serious buyer is gonna probably ask, can I see a picture of the back of the card? So you want to kind of have, I would have a few different pictures, the corners and things. Try to get a good surface picture. You just want to try to answer those questions, because you would just want to avoid returns. That's the one thing that is somewhat common. I wouldn't say it's very common, but it can be if you don't cover yourself. Try to get all the questions answered in the beginning. I will say, if I get someone that's asking me a bunch of questions, and I can tell that they aren't sure and they might be a little bit uneasy, I will just tell them like, hey man, it looks great to me. The corners look really good. I'm not a grader, so I can't say that this is going to be a 10. But a lot of guys, or gals, they come on here and they're trying to buy a PSA 10 card, and it's like, man, this has got to be a PSA 10 for it to be worth my while. And that's kind of how they operate buying cards, and it's like, and that's just not really realistic when you're buying raw. Of course, you'd love everything to be a PSA 10, but there is going to be, if I'm dealing with a seller that's basically like, hey, if this thing doesn't look perfect when I receive it, then it's coming back. If I get that feeling, then I'll just say, hey, I appreciate you looking at it, but I don't think this is going to be for you, because I can't guarantee that this is going to get you a PSA 10. Nobody can. So I think that just be careful and watch out for those types of buyers. Nothing wrong with them, and I understand they're just trying to do their due diligence, but we can't guarantee what something is going to be graded at, and I can't, if I don't feel comfortable with shipping everything, taking the time to ship everything, and then they're not going to be at least kind of open-minded, and I've given them 10 pictures and I've done everything that I can possibly do, then that's just not going to work out. So I try not to take those risks. If I feel like they're uneasy, then I'll just say, hey, I appreciate you looking at it. I just don't, I would say to just look at another one, because this one might not be the one for you, and I want you to be comfortable with your purchase. So thanks very much again for taking a look. Another added touch as a seller that I like to do is put it in a one touch. So I know that they're not cheap. They're $1.50 to $2 each. I don't necessarily put a $5 card in a one touch when I'm selling raw cards, but if it's $20 or more, maybe $18 to $20 or higher on a raw card, I put it in a one touch, because I just feel like it gives it a little bit more credibility. It's like, okay, this guy cares enough to take care of his cards to keep them in one touches, as opposed to a picture that shows, it's a top loader with, the Scotch tape over the top. It just doesn't look good, and Scotch tape is a no-no in general. With cards, you need to be using painter's tape, in my opinion, it's that blue tape, and you'll see it a lot of card collectors, investors use it, sellers and buyers use it. But it's easier to get off. It doesn't, Scotch tape is an absolute nightmare. So please don't use Scotch tape at all. But again, if you're buying a card with that's in Scotch tape, you could damage the card trying to get it out, trying to maneuver around that Scotch tape. So I like to put it in a one touch, make sure the lighting is good, make sure you get a good picture. And it just shows, it's quality. It's about, hey, I care about this card, and I'm keeping it in a one touch, and people appreciate that. Please make sure that you ship raw cards with bubble wrap. I've seen too, some people put pieces of cardboard on the ends on either side to try to keep it steady, which can work great too. But bubble wrap is very helpful. If it's less than a $5 card, I'm okay with it coming in a white envelope. But if it's a $20 raw card, that makes me nervous. I'd like to ship it first class, and also I'd like to receive it, in more of a bubble wrap, kind of a more safe type container, to where it's not. I wrap every card, and most of mine are in one touches, which helps too. It just makes it a more smooth wrap with bubble wrap. And then what's kind of nice too is most of the time when you buy cards, you get bubble wrap. So I just reuse the bubble wrap, and that's the way that I do it, so that I'm not going out and buying bubble wrap. It can get a little pricey if you're adding that into your shipping, and typically it's not a good idea to up your shipping cost. If you're passing that along to the buyer, they'll pass over you if it's $7, to ship a card, or if you're a buyer and you're looking at a card and it's another $7 for shipping and handling, it's like, ugh. When other people are charging $3.95 or $3.99, $4 for first class. So that's something that I like to do. With every single purchase, I always put it in bubble wrap. And I kind of expect that's a similar thing as long as it's, if it's a $15, $20 card or higher. I get it. If it's a $10 card, then maybe you go about it a little bit differently, but just to try to, have that added protection and avoid, any sort of returns, avoid any damage to the card. That's what we're trying to avoid, and make sure that, everything looks good and you keep that seller reputation, on eBay. Guys, I think the main thing with this is to have fun with it. You can't really, what I would say too is you can't really go wrong if you're sticking with certain sets. When you're buying raw, let's just talk about basketball cards. If you're going with very popular sets, Prism Basketball is the king of the jungle with this. But 2012 Prism, 2016 Optic, I would even throw in, there's other years of Prism, Select, Mosaic. These are sets that are very popular and rising with sports card collectors and investors. So, to me, you can't really go wrong. If you're looking at, Giannis cards, Luka cards, superstars that are in this, and rookie cards, especially, because graded cards are very expensive. And you know what? Some people, they don't trust the grading companies anyway, especially with modern cards. So there's a lot of buyers for raw cards. Maybe it's that Steph Curry rookie card. Maybe they would rather have it raw. There's a lot of people that just want the card, whether it be from a collecting standpoint or for an investing standpoint. They just want the card, not even necessarily to grade it, but just to have it and to flip it that way. So, you don't have to go in with all these, very expensive graded cards. There are a lot of opportunities in the raw market as well, the ungraded sports card market. So, take a look at it, see if there's some things that make sense. Let me know if you have any questions, and please comment and subscribe, so you get all of our daily videos that come out on sports card investing. Thank you very much, guys, for stopping by, and we will see you again soon.